give many thanks to the Colombian group that brought this with us. I'm going to put this up here because Kim has been a very significant part of the planning of this conference and of bringing everyone together. So Kim asked me if I would actually frame the conference, which is about climate change, and the theme is called A Climate of Collaboration. So I'm thinking that we're going to take stock together, and I'm going to have us consider actually taking action. So first, the obvious, I'm not Kim and I want to tell you that I got permission from her to actually speak about her situation right now. And she told me, she said, please remind everyone at the conference that mammograms save lives. So in 2022, we had almost 300,000 people, most of whom present as women, being diagnosed with cancer. In 2020, which is the latest year that we have data, we have had 2.3 million women around the globe diagnosed with breast cancer, and almost 700,000 people died of breast cancer. Every 14 seconds, someone is diagnosed with breast cancer in the world. Now, in the US, we have amazing survival rates depending on the localization of the disease, depending on the level, the kind of genetic structure of the cancer. And so things are very, very good on one hand, but on the other hand, we also know that there are huge inequities in outcomes depending on somebody's skin color or ethnic background. And so that is something that should give us pause. So we are thankful for Kim's leadership, and Kim and all the people that Moses actually mentioned have been working to prepare this amazing conference. And this conference is a celebration. But before we do that, I would like to invite all the program leaders to ask the participants to stand up, and we're going to video something that we're going to beam into Kim's bedside right now. What do you think about that? So, who has the camera? One camera is over there, thank you, Lynn. Another camera is over there, and another camera is over there, and over there. And so, stand up please, and face the camera that is closest to you. And say, we love you, Kim.
We love you, Kim.
Be well soon.
Sending lots of wishes. We're going to get a lot of these videos. Happy birthday.
It was her birthday yesterday. So, who am I? I co-direct the STAR program at CalPoly, which is slightly different than most other programs that are represented here, and in the sense that we actually focus on pre-service STEM teachers. And we are grateful for the opportunity to bring our fellows with veteran STEM teachers here. And this connection is something that we feel that is extremely good for both groups. So I want to tell you that this conference is for you. One of the things that the Murdock Charitable Trust has actually done consistently over many years is to take this opportunity and celebrate you. This is not just a conference about scientific things, but it is a celebration of the people who are participating in the conference. So, to you practicing teachers, we are in awe for all that you do. And we only know a very thin slice of what you do. And so you do so much for your students, for your colleagues, for your school systems, and for your communities. And we thank you for that. And aspiring teachers, we are invigorated by your enthusiasm and your promise, and we hope that you're going to walk in the footsteps of wonderful role models that you have in the room. One of the major tasks of this conference is to bring people together so that they will actually develop a different vision of themselves as professionals. And we are here to recognize and reward your contributions, and we want to feed delectably, as you saw, your bodies and your minds and your hearts. And this is a time to learn about climate change and to plan to act. So, climate change. And so there is substantial scientific evidence of anthropogenic factors in climate change. And there is substantial unwillingness to deal with the impacts of climate change. I think that those two statements are incontrovertible. And so we see, in the last few days, although it is very difficult and scientifically it is dodgy to assign any particular weather phenomenon to climate change. This last week, 2 weeks, we have seen in California, I forgot, I lost count, 8 storms that came through, 2 or 3 atmospheric rivers, and the possibility of a typhoon in California. So the ocean is warming. The Arctic sea level is decreasing, the global temperature is increasing, and the sea level is going up. Now, climate change is a particularly difficult challenge because it taps into resources of our brain that our brain is not prepared to deal with, for the following reason. It involves human cognition. There are some resources which we deploy on the basis of our generalizations of how we have ordered our experiences since we have been in the womb. And one of those generalizations that we apply instinctively is small means small, big means big. And so what that means is that we expect small things to lead to small things. And yet, climate change is based on the tremendous power of the exponential. So I want you to think about the following question. As people who are thinking about our retirements and our investments and our whatever, what we want is we want growth, right? We want growth. And so let me ask you, how sustainable is 5% growth in perpetuity? It is impossible, because 5% of something small is small. And then, though, when you actually think about the in perpetuity part of that question. We also know that the exponential curve, from your perspective, starts small, and then it rapidly increases. And somebody who has been thinking about climate change for a very long time has actually said that the fundamental problem with the climate change is that the human brain is not made to think about the exponential. Furthermore, we think a lot about policymakers, and we think that policymakers are going to make the big difference in climate change. But I want you to think about it, to put ourselves in their shoes. And policymakers, politicians, have a reward structure which is organized around a 2-year or 6-year cycle. 2 years for members of Congress, 6 years for members of the Senate. And that is a very short time scale in which to actually see significant effects of climate change. Which means that any politician can outweigh. So we cannot expect politicians to actually lead in this. Politicians will lead when we lead. When the surveys come back and say the people are ready for leadership, then the politicians will lead. And so what is our role as STEM educators? Well, it is first and foremost to help students and their communities develop those kinds of understandings about a problem that is so complex, that is globalized, and that goes against simple statements, that goes against the basis of much of human cognition and evolutionary history. We are fighting the human brain as teachers. And we are fighting our human brain as teachers. So the issue is about how to recognize, how to avoid, how to mitigate the proportional effects of immediate, proximate, intermittent danger. This is what our brain has actually evolved to do, is to think about proportional effects of immediate, proximate, and intermittent danger. Well, climate change is nothing. Another goal for us, another role for us, is to develop community-minded persons who have the skills, the knowledge, the dispositions, the desires, the values to co-develop local solutions to thorny problems. So climate change is not just about learning scientific things about climate change. Teaching climate change is not just that. But it's about bringing the whole student, the whole community of the classroom, the whole school, the whole community of the school, in order to actually have a voice. And one of the things, I do not know about you, but one of the things that is hardest for me is to approach this, to respond to disagreement with humble curiosity. With curiosity about what is it at stake for the other person? Why is the other person, why is that community resisting? Let's be curious about that. Genuinely curious. And then, with specialized knowledge, let's actually engage in a conversation that is going to last for a very long time, where we recognize the need that we have for the other person. If I ask you, do you believe that all your students can learn and should learn, you will say, of course, I do. If I ask you, do you believe in broadening participation in the sciences, you will say, of course I believe. We cannot solve this problem by just thinking about one part of society solving this problem, where we push other voices out. We have to invite everyone. Dr. Gonzalez, her first name escapes me right now. She is a math education professor. I heard her talk once, and she said, we keep telling kids that they need math. Actually, mathematics needs kids. And so, we need everyone's voice at the table. When we think about issues of diversity, when we think about issues of equity, I think we start with a moral imperative that the reason why we want everyone is because everyone, that is the right thing to do. But it's also the smart thing to do. Right? You can actually show, as a mathematical theorem, subject to some specific assumptions, that inhomogeneous groups can outperform teams of specialized experts. And so problems that do not have a simple solution, like climate change, require everyone's voices, everyone's insights. So if not politicians, then who? Well, it's easy for us to say. It's easy for us to say, oh, you know, we screwed up. Please, it's your job now to fix it. But that is what I'm saying. I'm saying, please take this on. Please take this on. So what might be some immediate curricular needs for climate change? And so, climate change, of course, touches every single discipline, scientific, mathematical, engineering. But first of all, in order for us to understand a warming world, we need to understand energy balance. And so, we need to help students develop a flexible, adaptable framework that allows them to track local energy transfers and transformations that can be used across all disciplines. Dear friends, I want to ask you, I'm a physicist, and so I'm going to put this squarely at the feet of us physics instructors, right? How many students are prepared to tackle biological issues of energy transfers and transformations, geological issues of energy transfer and transformations with the kind of energy instruction that they do? Do they develop the skills to use the same approach to energy analysis that they learn in physics, biology, in chemistry, in geology? I will not keep you in suspense. The answer is no. We do not do that. And that is something that we absolutely need to do that. We need to help students differentiate between the social need to conserve energy and the idea that energy is conserved always in any system, in any process. Energy cannot not be conserved, and yet we need to conserve energy. Right? And so you can imagine how weird this is for a student to actually be able to disentangle the social aspects of that statement from the scientific aspects of that statement. We need to think about how to apply the laws of thermodynamics in ways that are also relevant to biological and Earth and space systems, and not just 19th century steam engines. And so we need to provide the students with the tools that they need to understand the second law of thermodynamics in ways that they can do something with it. So that involves us going beyond simple mottos like, entropy equals disorder. Look that up. There's a beautiful paper by in chemical education about the uselessness of that motto. And also, energy is the ability to do work. That is also a useless thing. And we need to help students think about issues of dynamical equilibrium. And we are talking about the Earth system as being out of dynamical equilibrium and approaching a new equilibrium. But I do not want to leave you with just doom and gloom. The reason why you do the work, the reason why you wake up in the morning and you put your socks on, is because you are fundamentally an agent of hope. And that is what I want us to think about. There's a lot for us to learn at this conference and to continue learning as lifelong learners that we want to model for our kids. But fundamentally, that learning and that dealing with the vagaries of the human condition are also funded by an asset-based perspective on human thriving. That the world that we see around us, broken as it is fundamentally good. And it is that conviction which drives us in the classroom in order to help our students thrive, to help the community of the students. And I want to thank you. As I look around in this room today, I see people who are deeply committed to this. And I want to take us this opportunity here today to actually make this commitment, this renewed commitment, that there are bigger things than this assessment or that thing or that other challenge or this school district policy or whatever that we are working towards. We're working towards helping society, helping the world be a better place. And I cannot imagine a better group to actually take this on. Not that you're taking it on right now and you've not been doing this, you've been doing this since day one. I just want us to recommit to that. And I want us to actually say, it's a difficult road ahead, but we can do it. And we can do it if we are continuing to band together and to think together about tough problems, the like of which humankind has not encountered in its history. I want to say that climate change is the most significant challenge that we face. It is going to be connected to geopolitical issues. It is going to be connected to war over resources. It is going to be connected to a whole bunch of different things that the mind boggles. And yet, people of hope, with the scientific understanding, with the commitment to actually engage students in the authentic exercise of science. And that is what you do when you do research, is you think about the authentic exercise of science. And that is what is going to make a difference, I think. One colleague of mine once asked and said, I was involved in a pointless argument on the internet. And she actually sent me a message, and she said, Stamatis, she said, you are an experimental particle theorist by training, you do physics education research, it's not in your wheelhouse to think about all the feedback loops and to know exactly how the modeling of the Earth system is, etc., etc., etc. Why is it that you and I believe our colleagues and other people do not? She said, the reason is because we have worked with colleagues. These are the colleagues that work down the hall from us. We know how sausage is made. And I want to tell you, this is one of the hugest challenges for us, is society does not know how science works. We don't need more scientific facts. What we need to really engage our students in the practices of science, so that they will know, oh yes, I understand. And rather than thinking that it was a bug that the advice was changing with COVID, it is a feature of science that on the basis of new information that we get, we are going to change. And above all, we need to know the difference between science and policy. Science is not democratic. Science and scientific results, are what they are. What we are going to do with those results, that is very much an issue of human judgment. And those two are two completely different questions. What science says about climate change and what we should do about it are two completely different questions. And we need to separate it, and I know that I myself have sometimes conflated this, and I know that my interlocutors have actually conflated those two things. So thank you again. We're going to move into the conference time. And so the latest information is in your app. And so please enjoy. And I wanted to remind us that there is a humongous amount of investment that has gone in to this conference. And we all know that we deserve a break by the pool, but there are times to do that. And when there are sessions going, that is not the time to be by the pool. So thank you all very much. And this is a wonderful opportunity to be and learn from you today. And tomorrow.
Isn't he great? Isn't he great? It's a great reminder. And the three words that came to my mind is, Si se puede. We can do this. We can do this. And all of you are here reminded of the call to action and the expertise you have in hand to carry out this work. So.